on an all-new episode of Spilled Milk.
I didn't bring you here to be talking about stuff like that. Respectfully, if you're not going to change the subject, we don't have to talk about it.
Well, girl, if you didn't want me here to be talking about I don't know why you invited me in the first
Well,
place.
it's not about me not inviting you because I don't think that you cannot handle yourself. It's just simply the fact that I don't understand why you're continuing to bring this up.
Just don't want to be able to listen to
No,
you.
it's not that I don't want to listen to you. It's just that I don't understand what that has to do with us being here.
I told you when I came in, I was ready to air the room and bring all the receipts.
You think you
Well,
are?
if it was that big of an issue, why didn't you tell her to her face? That's your opinion. And guess what? You're being a asshole. So drop it.
We'll just agree to disagree.
All right, bitch.
It's Pride.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the 4th episode of our podcast, Spilled Milk. We have some amazing, super special guests that are going to be with us here in the studio today. I'm super excited for you to meet these people. These people are not just like my family. These people are my family, and specifically my chosen family. Sister Natalie is not here with us today, but we will be meeting up with her at another time for another little special Spilled Milk event for Pride, where we go live on location to the Hidden Door to ask the hard-hitting questions from our community. We are here with my drag sister, Kitana Sanchez.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
My other amazing drag sister, Isis Paris York. And the one, the only, the boisterous, the big, bold, brash, and beautiful Gemini, B. York.
Hey guys.
Okay, so now you're delicate.
Girl, I'm
Demure.
Giving us
Now you
orange
have.
sherbet, boots, mandarin.
You make me want a dreamsicle real bad.
How do y'all feel being on the podcast today?
I'm nervous.
I'm excited.
I'm really excited. This is great. This is great representation. I think it's great visibility. I mean, you chose, a great time to do this.
I'm super, super excited for Pride. The only thing that I cannot deal with right now is the freaking heat. It's too hot for drag. It's too hot for anything. It's even too hot for shorts and chanclas. I can't cope with it right now.
Girl, you're telling us.
And my
Yeah.
AC's broken in my car. Y'all know we were just here a while ago.
Oh, is that why? Is that why the windows were down?
Yes.
That's why it was extra hot.
I thought you just didn't want it to smell like drag queen in your car.
No.
Talk about schwitzing in this heat. You know what I mean?
I know.
Schwitzing from here to high heaven. Just dripping.
Girl, the other day when I was doing like the kickoff party at the door, I literally was like, I'm dying. I didn't even drink the whole day. Like normally, like I have a cocktail I'm keeping around with me. I was nothing but water. No, that's a lie. Nothing but Sprite.
I was
the
like,
whole-
wait a minute. You
I had
water?
one glass of
There's-
water.
I was
One,
like,
that's
there
how
is
bad it
no-
was. I had at least 1 or 2 glasses of water, but the rest of the day it was just Sprite.
I was
The
like, there's
most
no way.
water that this woman drinks is the ice that is in her beverage, if it is in fact on ice.
No, because all of my drinks I get off of ice. I've been off of ice for a very long time. In fact, I'm going to be in a protest tomorrow saying how much I don't like ice.
AKA fuck ice.
Fuck ice.
To all of
Fuck it.
our Latino community that is out there that is watching this podcast, to all of our LGBT community that is out there watching this podcast, to all of our allies, to all of our family, to everybody and anybody that is in between, we hold a big 2 middle fingers up, and you are welcome in this space, in our space, any day of the week, anytime, no matter day or night. You have each and every one of us in this room as some form of a viable resource that you are able to confide in, that you are able to fight with. And we are here to fight with you.
Especially right now, 2025, I feel that there's a lot of misconceptions being thrown around about what drag is. A lot of people, again, for some reason, like to hypersexualize. And for some reason, they throw in the idea of children being involved. And of course, also to being exposed in front of children, which I feel these people don't understand the history of LGBTQI plus people within America, because queer history is American history, dating back to Stonewall and pre-Stonewall. We had people, Sylvia Rivera, we had Marsha P. Johnson, we had, Miss Major, Stormy de la Vera. These people fought for our rights. And I feel that people that aren't immersed within the queer community or don't have somebody who's LGBTQI plus identifying it goes over their heads. They only pay attention to what is they see nowadays, especially on social media. And I know very recently, we've come into scandal yet again, with a local news source here in Corpus Christi. And it hurts me to think that these people, because everybody has opinions, and we all know the saying, opinions are like,
No, you can say it.
okay, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
They're not always pretty.
Exactly.
I have two.
So, oh my God. You need to get that checked, Gemini.
I think that second one is called a fissure.
But
It's your twin from the womb.
oh no. But drag is a political statement. It's theater, it's art. We immerse ourselves into this because a lot of people don't understand too how much time it takes to get into this character. We're able to express ourselves, I think, on stage, where sometimes in general public we can't, especially now too, we're being forced back into the closet, which I know none of us are going back. But getting back to, the opinionated article that was posted on Facebook, Gemini, I know your photo was used from, this individual and this very accredited news source. And I feel that you need to talk on this, especially since you are an entertainer of color. You know what I mean? How do you feel having your photo on an article, an opinionated article
During fucking Pride, girl.
during Pride and on the anniversary
Opposed
of
Orlando.
both Orlando? How does what went through your mind? What happened?
So I'm gonna say this because this is the way that I was thinking. So opinions are like assholes, like you said. So for me, my phone was going off like I was Beyonce. And I get it, like they had our pictures, whatever, the color times. My problem is not with the color times. My problem is with the editor. I feel like everyone has an opinion. Everyone has the right to voice that opinion, but to share that opinion, that's on the color. That's the editor, whoever wants to do it, whatever. What I had an issue is that I am a person of color. I'm a drag queen, and to be seen as my photo in front of an anti-LGBT opinion, that offended me, and I called them personally.
Especially the wording that came out.
Yes, and everything that I do, it's art. Everything I do, I don't do anything sexually sexualized or anything like that, and I'm not going back into closet because I'm not. So I called her personally, and I let her know that I'm very offended. I want my picture taken down. You offended one person, and I'm very lucky that the Corpus Christi local, what's the word?
Pride Corpus Christi?
No. Oh, that.
Community.
Hey, Jonathan Swindle. I love you. That the community stood up for me. Now, they did change my picture, which offended one person, and that offended me. But then they changed it to a flag that offended multiple people
pride
around
flag,
the world.
Which I wrote an email to the editor explaining my disdain, first of all, for the photo, having you in there with the language that was posted, even though it was an opinion, but to use the flag, which we all know was created from individuals who have been fighting for their rights, for just equality. And a lot of people have died for that flag. It's not just a decoration. It's not just, oh, look at my fan, woo, it's pride, whatever, yada, yada, yada. No, this symbol is in our community, and people designed this to show that we are united. And that's the thing too. A lot of people don't understand that once you come for one of us, you come for all of us, and we're going to get on that, and we're going to let you know at the end of the day who we are and what we're about.
We also want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor for this episode of Spilled Milk, Gold Dust Cosmetic Collective, located here in Corpus Christi, Texas. The local's premier cosmetic studio offering medical injections, neurotoxins, fillers, laser tattoo removal, skincare, cosmetic tattooing, the golden brow, nanoblading, and luxury lash extensions, as well as so much more. Gold Dust Cosmetic Collective is open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Appointment only. They are located in Midtown Corpus Christi. Their address is 109 Airline Road on Airline, in between McCardle and Galahar Road. Complimentary consultations are provided and all calls are welcomed. You can contact Gold Dust at 361-549-9205.
And that's because I was literally on the phone with her and I was like, I just want to know. Like, I'm not a rude person. I just want to know, like, what makes you think it was okay to use my picture? And she literally stated, like, we had the picture. It was for the Caller Times. Like, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it as a way that it would offend anybody. And I was like, you didn't think that a drag queen would feel some type of way with my picture being used for an article that states sexualizing should be behind closed doors or in a closet. And I was like,
That
Whether it's gay or
Choices.
straight.
that shows the level of
Choices.
privilege that she has, because
As a not queer
Yeah.
woman.
because anytime that we walk out of our houses, our homes, anytime that I leave my house like this,
mhm.
there is a target on my back. and
Yes.
there is
Yes.
a possibility of danger because it just takes one person.
Yeah.
And it's something that even to this day I still have to have conversations with my own family, and they're concerned, especially now with the political climate, of like, when you go out, like, make sure you're surrounding yourself. And I tell them, like, I'm gonna be fine, like, I'm gonna be with Gemini, or I'm gonna be with Kitana, or I'm gonna be with Frankie. Like, even today, like, talking to my mom, she knew I was getting into drag for something, and she's like, well, what are you gonna do? I was like, oh, I'm gonna go do a podcast with the girls. And she's like, oh, okay, I feel so much better about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're with your family,
Yeah.
and they're gonna take care of you, so I can feel a little bit calmer. I feel okay.
And it sucks having to walk into spaces and having to look, okay, where are the cameras, where are the exits?
Yeah.
If something goes down, like,
Yeah.
what's the plan?
To this day, when I go to the hidden door, I always think, if shit pops off,
Yes.
where am I going to? And that's
Correct.
usually why it sounds horrible, but that's also why I tend to not go upstairs, because you're kind of stuck.
So me and my family, we're not any stranger to going out and being in the limelight of the media. We've done many kinds of interviews for different stations, different outlets, and we've even done stuff in the community where we've been featured. For like the past couple of years, we were doing a haunted house there in Portland, and because we're sharing it on our social medias, people connected to, and we've had people say like, oh, hey, is this like, y'all are the same ones, y'all run like Azul Entertainment, the drag company, aren't y'all also the ones that do the haunted house here in Portland? So there does create a fear in there of like, we've put ourselves out there, not just going and doing shows, but in our own personal life. We've put our names out there, we've put our address out there, we've put ourselves out there in the community. And Portland is still a very conservative area. When we first moved over there, it was the first round of the Cheeto going in, taking a swing at things. So every other house was in support. And we've never been afraid of who we are, and never been afraid to like advertise it. So we've always had pride flags, we've always had like LGBT like affirmations in the windows, in the house, everything. And that first year or so of it, we had a conversation of like, what, I'm not afraid of no one. Anyone comes in this house, we're gonna take care of ourselves. But no, it is a lot, and it's very overwhelming when you're in a sea of adversity to be the only one trying to shine a light of diversity.
I also want to touch on the fact that all of us have a target on our back, but especially as a trans woman and as a non-binary individual, girl, we walk into spaces. Girl, I got nails, I got long hair, I wear women's clothes 24/7. I don't own nothing.
And well, we're
Men's
we're
clothing.
public figures
Yeah,
within
that
the
too.
community.
So
like
you're on
we're
TV,
we're
you're
on
on
TV.
the paper.
Yeah.
We've been interviewed countless times. We're out there.
And every single
Yeah.
one of us has encountered online our fair share of weirdos.
Oh, of
All
course.
of-
Of
Well,
course.
I know, like what Gemini was saying. Very recently, we went up to Houston for her to do a photo shoot, and we stopped by a large gas chain of place, to get some food
Oh,
and to
yeah.
hang out. And no, she was still all done up in makeup. She had her moo on, her nails were done, and she was like, I need to go use the restroom. So can you come with me? So we go into the restroom, and we go into the men's side of the restroom. And as soon as we walk in, every guy's head just turns and looks. And someone even came up and said, "Ma'am, do you know you're in the men's restroom?"
And what did
And
I
she
say?
just looks at him and says, "Oh yeah, baby, I know where I'm at. This is what y'all wanted."
Thank you.
And then,
Period.
and then
Period.
went straight to go do her business.
Yes, I like literally like I'm not crazy, girl. I'm not gonna use a urinal, but I literally looked at man in the face. I was like, "Oh no, I'm in the right restroom. This is what y'all want. This where I'm at." And I use the stall, and every time I go to Buc-ee's, this, "Ma'am, you're in the wrong restroom." I'm like, I'm in the right restroom.
I know where I'm at. Yeah.
And I also do want to say that you did choose us for this podcast because we are your family one. But like you obviously stated that you didn't think about it, but like we're a diverse podcast. Like you have a trans woman, you have a drag queen, and you have a non-binary individual for this podcast, for the Pride podcast. And I know you didn't think about it, but I thought about it.
Well, thank you for saying yes. It really means a lot to me. And I always told this to Kitana. It always means a lot to me that the people who stood by me as I progressed and grew into all of the different things that I've been able to like have my hand over, those people have been there with me like through all of it. So it is always a full circle moment, and it does have a lot of meaning. And I guess the best way that I could describe it is that it didn't take much thought for me to decide like who I wanted to be there, because it's like we always say, like, I want my sisters there with me. I want my family to be
Well,
along my
personally, I
side.
know I've seen you grow. You know what I mean? Because we met each other at Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
She was my supervisor for Starbucks.
I
Oh my
sure
gosh.
was. I sure was.
I didn't know
and-
that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
I feel like I've probably heard this story, but when we were working, like, and I was there at 8 a.m, clocked out.
I think on this podcast, you're the only one that hasn't worked at Starbucks.
Well, I worked at Milky, which is like Starbucks Light,
It was Starbucks inspired.
Starbucks-ish.
Yeah.
Starbucks, like, but she's worked at Starbucks. He worked at Starbucks. I worked at Starbucks. You're
We've
the
all worked for
I
the
drink at Starbucks
But
with a very complicated order.
The thing that I will say though about mine and her experience at Starbucks, especially like in the genesis of it and beginning all of it, we worked in a kiosk. We didn't work in like an actual Starbucks that had a full service menu.
Yeah.
We literally worked like in a little stand that was like a fucking lemonade stand.
Yeah, it was
Like
very.
in the mall?
No. It was adjacent in the library at the university, and it was where currently I guess I haven't been there in a long time, but I would
Isn't there,
think
like,
that's
a
where the
sandwich
subway is
shop?
at.
It's the now it's where the subway is at. You're right.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so there's
it's where the
a
subway
full
is.
service Subway in
Yeah.
there now, but it used to be a little kiosk that was half Starbucks and half Subway.
Actually, it was half Subway and then half Java City, but
Yes,
it transitioned.
Starbucks.
It transitioned into a Starbucks.
We love a good
We love a
transition.
good transition.
Speaking of Subway, did you know that they came out and said that a footlong is supposed to be for 2 people? Girl, I've been eating that whole footlong for a long time.
I believe it.
Shocker.
So what I'm hearing you say from the moment y'all met, like everything else you've done, trial by fire.
It was very quick that me and Kitana had like a good like working rapport. It was very sisterly right off the bat. It's always been that way, but I feel like that time that we had there kind of really did gear us up for like so many other endeavors that we had. Not even just having like the shop, but also to just like, it teaches you quick thinking. It teaches you sense of urgency. It gears you up for being able to be where else you're headed to next. And that's why I always say, like, whatever job you're in right now, it's temporary, 100%. But it's gearing you up for like the next thing and then the next thing and the thing after
I got a
that.
question, because so that was back when y'all were both at A&M, right?
Yes.
So at that time, I don't remember, because I already knew you when you were already like out proud. Well, you were out.
This was at like the very, 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 very beginning. I had just moved from a small town that was like a small little football town, Sinton, Texas.
Go
And
Pirate.
I literally went through the biggest culture shock of my entire life, but it kind of gave me like the boost and the like a little adrenaline jump that you need to be able to go out and like find your tribe. But realistically, the time that I had there at Tamu CC, between that and when I finally did come out, since it's Pride and we're talking about coming out stories, that was easily like maybe like a 5-year journey before I actually came out, because I didn't come out until 2013 or 2014, actually 2015, around that time. And it was Are you good?
I had to cough.
I thought she was getting choked up or something.
No, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I told you not to wear all that hairspray. No, but I had that time, which was such a like reflectory period where you do sometimes go through like an insane amount of loneliness and like solitude until you find your tribe. But the craziest thing ever, and Kay knows this, is that the time that was spent, I literally lived down the street from Sanctuary, like walking distance.
Really?
And I would literally sit in that apartment and I would be so alone and was just like in such a need of like community. And it's so crazy because all three of y'all were right across the street the whole time.
Actually, no, because so you said that it was like 2013. I didn't move back to Corpus until 20. No, it was the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, because all that time I was still living down in the valley.
Miss Snapwell,
Yes, Miss Snapple.
Ida,
So,
all
because
these
after
names.
after all these
The record.
for like I've drank enough now and I've slept enough now and I've fucked enough now that all of that stuff is way behind me. I don't even remember her.
You know, I started out as Kitana, Edenia. Like I had like 5 names altogether. I wasn't just
Edenia? Where'd you get Edenia from?
So I guess my coming out story, little
Uh-huh.
kind of like how I got my name, because everybody's always asks, you know, where'd you come from? So a lot of people don't know, but I'm a gamer, so I'm a nerd. I love video games, specifically Nintendo. So growing up as somebody who is an only child and kind of going into my own little world. I always tell people I'm a wallflower, was a wallflower, and really didn't have a lot of friends, really didn't socialize. I think I'm somewhat, you know, self-diagnosed, divergent in a way, but I've grown to love, you know, the chosen family that I have now, all of you. So when I started entertaining, which was back in 2000, and I'm going to age myself here.
We'll bleep it out if
2000,
you need
and
to.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm a 39-year-old transgender Latina woman living in South Texas. Very proud of it.
Which is so crazy. You don't look a day over 21 and you've been
Thank you.
transitioning for the last
Oh my
50
God.
years.
Thank you. Oh my God. I know, right? I drank the potion.
There you go. That's what I was trying to get at.
She drank something else.
It keeps
like-
your skin nice and firm.
It sure does.
I'm like,
let
you
me
drunk
tell
the
you.
potion? Let me test it.
But as somebody who's always wanted to be on stage and like wanted to be like this star, I just thought, what can I do in order to put myself out there? And it was through, actually my first time on stage was at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and it was through Middle Eastern dance. We had a dance club and I learned how to dance. It was like 7 of us girls together, still love them to this day, still talk to a couple of them. And that gave me like the confidence to really perform on stage as somebody who, you know, was finding themselves. So coming out on stage as a woman, you know, with the rest of these girls was an experience. And it wasn't until I saw Brittany Andrews having a contest here in Corpus Christi, Miss Sweetheart, that I said, you know what? I want to compete. I want to be a part of that and see. This was back in like Club 6. I don't know if y'all are old enough to have gone to Club 6. See, okay, we got to get dating
I started
Well, no,
off
I mean,
You know.
it was still around when
I didn't have a
like, I
car.
was going out, but I was going out in a different city. Like I was
see.
going out in the valley, like to PBDs, to like Jackie O's, to Thin
wow,
Bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was going out to those places and like hanging out with those galas. So all that stuff that was going on here, like it was still around the same time frame, but it was just I wasn't here for that.
Yeah. So competed for like Miss Sweetheart my first time, and I got first runner up, which was really incredible as like a first time entertainer. And that's just kind of like started my career as an entertainer. And that's when I felt comfortable as a woman, as, you know, a female in society. And I'm like, this is something I want to do. And meeting other trans women like Brittany Andrews, you know, she's a great mentor. And to having this, and you know this, you know, Isis, and you too, Gemini, and you too, Frank. You know,
Yes.
we've all had Miss Andrews give us a piece of advice to help us, you know, on our entertainment journey. But after, you know, meeting her and a couple of the other dolls, I was like, you know what, this is who I am. And coming to terms with like my parents, my family was a little bit, it was hard, but we got through it. You know, born and raised Catholic, so it was a little hard for them to understand where this was coming from, but I did it. And I took the courage and was able to to be where I'm at today.
So I'm really interested and really fascinated because when I first met Gemini, I knew you as JoJo, and I knew you as the individual who ran the spotlight. But whenever there was a lip sync battle or there was an opportunity for you to get on stage, you always went out there, even if you were in just like civilian clothing, just whatever. Didn't matter what you were wearing, you were going to go out there and you were going to perform. What was the process like from like the time that you came out to the point that you got to that point?
Do you want to hear something funny? I did not want to do drag.
Neither did I, girl.
I did not want to do drag. So when I first started, I ran the music for the girls. Like my objective being there was I was a cosmetologist.
Yes.
And that has to come back to my coming out story because I told my parents, like, I want to do hair. They're like, oh, okay, you want to be a barber? And I'm like, no, I want to do like the women's hair, the blowouts. And they were like, are you gay? And I was like, I'm bisexual. I am not bisexual.
We love a good bi phase.
Yeah.
I think we all know you are not bisexual.
Yeah.
Not to erase bi people because they're there and they
Right.
exist.
They
But
do.
Let's not
They
get
do.
confused.
But
now.
not me.
but if you met Gemini, you would
But
know that is
honestly,
not.
don't you feel that most of us, at least within the LGBTQI plus community, we all kind of identify with bisexuality first to kind of like get in there? No?
I agree with that
I
sentiment.
think like maybe when I was like the one time like maybe middle school, but by high school I had no real sexual attraction to any women. I had a friend that like we had made a pact saying like if we were at 30 and neither of us were married, then we would just get married to each other because I think she falls more like on the asexual scale. I've never known her to be interested in anyone. I knew I definitely wasn't interested in women, but I kind of wanted to like fit the mold. So we're like, if at 30 we're not with someone, we'll just do this.
But yeah, so I told my parents I was bisexual. Obviously, now they know I'm gay. But I never wanted to do drag. I was okay with working the spotlight, running the music and everything. My thing is I loved to do the lip sync battle, and I would get up there and perform my favorite song and the outfit I was wearing. I never wanted to do drag. And there was an entertainer by the name of Elo Davis, and they were like, you know what they're waiting for, right? You know why you don't win, right? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, they're waiting for you to put on the wigs, the heels, and we've already known of each other. Like, we've known each other. So I was just like, hey, Frank, like, I know you do makeup. Can you, like, help me out? And girl, he painted me. I performed. Everyone loved it. I had friends and family that came out. And that's how Gemini started.
Gemini
And
was the first person I ever did drag makeup on, ever.
Really?
Ever.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
I like that in her story, she's the one that timidly came up to you and said, like, hey, can you help me out? But in
As if I wasn't begging to like paint people to get
But
experience.
in my version
I
of
was.
my story and my interaction with you, it was very like she's the way she tells it, like Jesus came down to her and gave her divine message. The Holy Spirit came and touched Frank specifically and said, it is your mission in life to go and fix this poor child.
At least somebody did. No, but yeah, that's how I started performing. I started performing as Gemini Woo because someone
Woo!
asked me.
We used to do it every single, it was like a tick, every single time that they would call her name on the mic, because what they would do, and everybody who, is an entertainer or a performer, in order to test that the microphone is on, they'll usually throw like a woo!
Yeah.
And so every time either Desiree or Layla or Nathan or Miss Thing, anybody would say woo, we would be like, Gemini, woo!
But I only performed with that name 2 times. After like 2 times, I met my drag mother, Layla Brooks, and that's where I got the Brooks from. And then I met my drag father, Zachary York, and that's where I got the York from. But I only used that name like twice.
Okay, so mine
Can't
was
remember where my car keys are, but I remember that.
yeah, doesn't know where she's at right now, but she said, "I got you."
What city did I wake up in today?
Oh my
We're
gosh,
filming a podcast.
That's nice, sweetie.
I picked the name Lady Danger after the MAC lipstick, Lady Danger, which is like the most beautiful, like red carrot orange, but it's so like bold. But it was supposed to be like this juxtaposition of like Lady Gaga, Lady Danger the lipstick. I used to work at Mac. All these different factors to kind of like tie it together. But that literally lasted for like one night. And it was actually your drag mother. It was Layla. I will never forget this. That whenever I went out there and was like, oh, I'm going to do, I'm going to be Lady Danger. And she was like, for real, that's your name? And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, there's already like a Lady Shamu, and there's already another girl named Danger. So, do y'all know the story of the first night I ever did drag?
No.
One of my friends basically wanted to do Jaden's talent night. And no.
I was there.
Oh, no. I thought you meant like it was you. I was like,
No, I was there.
no. So basically, one of my friends asked to be put in drag. They wanted their makeup done, and then they were gonna go compete. And then while I'm doing their makeup, they're like, "Can you jump into?" And I was like, "Girl, no, I can't. I won't. I'm not gonna do that." They're like, "Please, like, can you just do it?" And then I ended up fucking winning. Yeah,
And
I ended up winning.
since then.
And the crazy thing is that I literally went out there and did a mix that I made as I was getting my makeup like on.
Yeah,
because
she
y'all
does it all.
does it
Yeah.
all, does everything but kicks and splits and jumps and whatever's. But I shablammed my way into just very quickly like finessing a mix really quickly. So I just took like one little audio sample of American Horror Story Hotel, and then I combined it with Teeth from Lady Gaga, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. And then I ended up winning. So then after that, I had to come up with a whole gig, because when you would win talent night, you would have to perform that weekend, because talent night was always on a Tuesday. So you had it was at Sanctuary. You had from Tuesday until Saturday. It was so like not packed at the bar, but it felt, and I think we've all been there before, like when you've been in a performance or you're just coming into your entertainment journey, those Sunday nights that like nobody's at feels like you're performing at freaking Madison Square Garden.
I know that. Yeah, I know that feeling. I remember doing my first white party at at 6, and just thinking, wow, I've made it. This was the first time I was crowned as Miss Corpus Christi newcomer. And I just thought, wow, getting a booking on a Sunday and like performing.
I've arrived.
And there may have been like maybe less than 20 people in the audience, but you feel that energy and you're like, I've arrived. You know,
20 people feels like 200 people when the vibe is right. And I think that having that opportunity to have done that performance and having Layla be like, what's your drag name gonna be? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, think of something that you would not mind being called out in public while you're like at the grocery store, because for the rest of your life, everyone, even if you don't do drag anymore, everybody's gonna call you by that name. And so I was like, let me make this, because at the time my mom didn't know I did drag. You remember that era?
Oh yes.
Hi, Mom. My mom's probably at the house right now, like cleaning bolsas and stuff. And
Her ears just burning.
no, literally. I think it's so funny because I had that era of time where my mom didn't know that I did drag. So I had to make sure that everything was like built around making sure, were people going to post me on Facebook? Was I going to get tagged in things? Did I want a separate Facebook? Did I want this? And all my family on my dad's side at the time, they all knew that I did drag and they were all living for it. So it was just kind of like this self-hesitation, self-preservation of being like in not necessarily a whole closet, but like a little cupboard of just like, that's that one little piece that you just need to rip the Band-Aid off of. I think it's interesting because a lot of people, when you're in the thick of it and you're stuck in that mindset, that anxiety takes over you and you don't have the capability of rationalizing things and being like, well, that's actually not true. And I think by that point, I had yet to discover feelings over my fears and understanding that, and if anybody's out there and you're struggling with anxiety, this goes out to you, but your fears and your feelings are not real. They're valid, but your thoughts are not real. And I think I had convinced myself so deeply that like, it was bad enough that I was going to be gay, and that was like impossible to hide. But it's also going to be crazy to also be like, oh, by the way, like I throw on women's clothing, but I'm not a pretty girl. But I don't want to be trans, but I also
I'm not a cross-dresser.
But I'm not a cross-dresser. But I love
You're not
that,
yet a girl, but not yet a woman.
Not
Yeah.
yet a woman.
and it was one of those things of being like, okay, also, how do I incorporate into this that this means to me as much as theater did, and all of these other different facets that I was kind of pushed and raised into of being like, express yourself.
I think also too, because since we started doing drag at the same time, I know it has to be around the same time period of like transgender like issues and like transgender like in the zeitgeist of like the media and like society was really like, and this was like 2017
Yeah,
2018
that
was really starting to get talked about
that
more.
was the tipping point.
Yeah,
I think
'cause
that's when Laverne Cox made the
Laverne Cox, that's when
she was on Time
Caitlyn
magazine.
Jenner
Mhm.
started coming out and
Yep.
did her Vanity Fair shoot. Because I remember during that time, like when I started doing drag, which is around the same time you did as well.
Yes.
That was when I had to sit down with my mom and had a conversation. She's like, "Well, does this mean you're trans? Like, what is this? Like, what's
Mhm.
going on?" Like, so I get that. Like it's a whole nother.
It was a different time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Point blank period for
people
everybody.
didn't really know. Like people were just starting to talk about it more. You know, I mean, gay marriage had only just been legalized.
Yes.
For just
Yeah.
a few years.
Yeah,
By that point.
so it's like there was a lot of like new, like gay culture was becoming like part of the.
We're just
Yeah,
discovering gay divorce
yeah,
at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
queer culture was just starting to,
Become
surface
mainstream.
and
So
become
I, so
mainstream.
yeah, I get that now, like seeing how that maybe that fear and apprehension on your part, because
yeah.
like I mean, and it's crazy now because like now like knowing your mom and knowing all of our parents,
Yes.
been very fortunate that as y'all being like my drag sisters, it's not just been with y'all. Like I've gotten to know like your families and spent time with them and talked to them. So
Yeah.
so it's so weird to think of now like a time when like they weren't who I know they are now.
And I think
Yeah.
that the thing is that you are in a space and a time where that part of your life sometimes feels very disassociative, where you feel like you weren't connected with yourself, you hadn't arrived yet, you weren't fully like in tune with what you were doing. Because I always think I think sometimes back to like a time whenever you were in a closet of sorts.
Gemini,
Hot
you still
button.
in that closet? I know people would be trying to put you in there.
I don't fit in the closet. Hey, Desiree.
It's all that drag you got, right?
But
That's what it
I
is.
do want to say that you do say often that you started when Frank started, but you didn't start when Frank started because you've been doing out
She
of all of
blossomed
us.
when I started.
Yeah, she blocked.
Well,
Hey,
I,
Ida.
yeah. I started.
Who was y'all's like first inspiration when you saw them on stage and you're like, this is what I want to do? So for me, it was Anastasia Davis at 6, just seeing her for the first time and being like, wow, I can, like, people can do that. I can do that. Like, this is like, that was like where I was like, yes, this is what I want to do.
For me, it was Valerie Paris. Watching her in the Valley, like just do sickening ballads, like it's like Spanish ballads there in the bar, and just seeing people like crowd around the stage and just gravitate towards her. That was really like oh, and then also seeing La Betty Andrews.
I love Betty.
La Betty Andrews in her
La
French
Betty Jean.
singlet. La Betty Jean Andrews in her French singlet, like rolling around
yes.
on the floor at PBDs, and people just eating it up. Like those, it's a really weird
Yes.
juxtaposition, but those were my two. Like I was like, wow, what is drag? And this is amazing, and I want to do this.
I don't know. Like I was in Sanctuary and I didn't even know there was a show going on. And they were like, Showtime, Showtime. And then all of a sudden, this beautiful woman, and I've said this multiple times on my Facebook, Tersa Matthews from San Antonio
Yes.
was the
Oh,
first
It's gorgeous.
queen I've ever seen. And
Yes.
when I tell you I wasn't on my phone, I was paying full attention. I
You
said,
were locked in.
Just flabbergasted.
Gagged.
I love her still to this day.
She comes out in these really like beautifully like frilly outfits, like skin oiled up and just
tanned and beautiful.
glistening. I love it.
And she makes everything she wears.
Oh yeah,
Clock it.
but we didn't know that at the time.
No, not at all.
I feel like for me, the first person that I ever really saw that captivated me, like as a performer, that I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. It was actually 2 people, and it was in the same evening. It was at a house party. You were there. It was seeing Bunny do Selena, and then right after Miss Erin Davis doing Stevie Nicks.
Yes.
And then I think you had also performed that evening too.
Yeah, I did. I don't know what I did that one.
But I remember I was still very much like in the closet, and I was like at the cusp of like starting to come out. But that was the first time I was ever able to see what I was watching at home on RuPaul's Drag Race in person.
But you asked the question on who was our favorite, like, local drag queen. Real quick, I want to know everyone's favorite RuPaul's Drag Race girl. Can I say it real quick? Because I already know my favorite. Roxy Andrews. And if you're watching this, I love
thick and
Roxy
juicy.
Andrews.
I like Bianca Del Rio. because definitely the way that I host and the way I've learned how to host and like carry myself and carry a show, like I take a lot of inspiration from that and her kind of comedy and like that kind of insult comic. So I really love that. And then like branding themselves as like being some kind of kooky and crazy. I love Katya, just like the wild ass shit that she says. So those would probably be like my two favorite.
I think for me, I want to say Georges right now, only because I did meet
Ooh.
her
Mhm.
in person. She came to Corpus and she was just starting out. We got to
Lovely.
Kiki. We watched Paris is Burning for the first time. Well, she watched it for the first time. And that's where she realized, like, this is, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can perform, I can do this. And we were like, yes, girl, you can do anything you want, you know? So
You can do everything and
Yeah.
anything.
so seeing that little girl like progress to where she's at
Yeah.
is amazing. And also too, I would have to say, Sasha Colby. Yes. Yes. I love Sasha Colby.
Girl.
Well, I actually competed with her at Miss Continental in 2012. So I was there when
Really?
she won, which was amazing to see too. I
Oh,
mean, you know, to see her as an entertainer progress as well, and to
Yeah.
hear her story too on her Q&A when they
Mhm.
asked her, you know, on stage, the Q&A question was just, you know, heartwarming and being like, wow, she's overcome a lot of obstacles to get where she's at. Yes, she deserves this.
Yeah. You know, speaking of Georgia, she was booked one time at the Hidden Door and she was going to come down and drag, geesh, everything. And I was like, girl, we have our sister Paris Daniels and we can literally get ready at her apartment. So she was like, thank you so much. Like, sisters forever. And I just think that's so crazy. Like, she went from literally doing makeup with us in our bathroom or apartment to RuPaul's Drag Race all around the world.
And I think a lot of people too don't realize that we've all had encounters with RuPaul Drag Race stars.
Yeah.
And a
The
lot
stars, they're just like
Uh-huh.
us.
and a lot of normies, as we say, you know, feel or they're like, wow, they're amazed that we are able to have these interactions with these people. And I always remind people at the end of the day, they're just human beings.
You got to be a local
You
girl to
know,
get on TV.
But they're our queer family, and getting to know them and hang out with them, like Rose for the Harbor Playhouse when we did the
Oh yeah, for Life's a Drag.
yeah,
for
Life's
sure,
a
for
Drag,
sure.
you know, being able just to kiki with her afterwards at the Hidden Door
I didn't
and
know she
seeing
was
that she's
originally
just
from
a
Houston.
Yeah,
and then just seeing that she's a normal person and just likes to just chit chat and, you know, have a good old time.
sometimes you do start off as a local girl, hit a high point, you go on TV, and then you go back to being a local girl because this is a business. And I think sometimes people do forget that this is a business and that you are paying your bills with this and that you are investing in your art so that your art can invest in you so that you can travel, go places. I feel like drag took me to places that I never otherwise would have gotten to go. And that's something that I always give my flowers, not just to myself and to my chosen family, but also to give those flowers of like, hey, like look at what this thing that a small talent night started.
What would you say to little Frank?
I couldn't find any pictures of you to do that. So
Who's your favorite RuPaul's Drag Race girl?
it's probably gonna be a two-way tie between Adore Delano and Delta Work. 100%.
Yeah.
They're like my two favorite people. But I feel like I really like organize them based on what I take from them. So some of them are like really sickening makeup girls. Some of them are performance girls. Some of them are like consummate entertainers. And like I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize and recognize is while yes, we do have some of these girls that we do kind of like admire on like a grand scale, there's also some of them that either have or have not been on Drag Race that we revere regardless if they were on the show or not. For me, it's always going to be people like Kennedy Davenport. It's going to be people like Jasmine Masters. It's going to be people like Asia O'Hara.
Like
It's going to be
Katana
Nina
said,
West,
Sasha Colby. Like,
Sasha Colby. Like those
Girls
are
that have
for
been, like,
me, like
yeah.
it's literally like how Sasha says, like your drag queen's favorite drag queen. It's 100% true because we have fans that are fans of ours, but we're somebody else's fan.
because I mean, these were all the like before we had Drag Race and before like social media was a big thing. You know, the only way, and that's how they all made their names was you do the pageant circuit, you
Yeah.
do like the US of A system, you do the America system, you do Entertainer of the Year,
Yeah.
you do Showman and Showgirl of the Year. Like that was the
Like-
only way to like unless you were doing like girls from New York who were doing like their Provincetown acts, like Jackie B, you know, Sherry Vine, Marla Jean Vermin, like those were the entertainers that were getting
That's
booked.
Coco Peru.
Coco Peru,
Girl.
again, white New York girls that would go to white cisgender gay hangouts like P-Town, Fire Island. They
Lady
would do their
Bunny.
one-woman shows. And then you had all the POCs and the trans women who were doing the pageants. And
Erica
that's
Andrews,
how...
Tandy
Girl.
Andrews.
You know what?
Girl,
Let
don't
me
for-
actually. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, don't forget Chevelle Brooks,
Yeah.
Layla
Oh, yeah.
LaRue.
It seems like that's the
Well,
different avenues, right?
Honestly, that was, I think, the only way, from what I've been told by the elders of the community, that was the only way that you could be a star. You know what I mean? Like we've said, social media wasn't out then. There was nothing was streaming, and the only way to get to where you wanted to be as an entertainer was you had to have a title. And as we know, like at the time too, Continental was like the biggest title you could have. That was like the highest, like the cream of the crop. So if you got that, like you were like golden.
And what a lot of. Oh, so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to continue. And, other systems like, what is it? US of A.
US of A. my girl.
Universe, Miss Gay Universe. Those systems started for individuals that wanted to be somebody and also too, I think it also helped with the platform of them getting out there and being visible, which inspired later on, the younger generations like mine and the ones that are up and coming. Hopefully they learn their history and see these entertainers and be like, okay, these are the people that trailblaze the way for us to be where we're at today.
Me and Kay always like to say how certain things are immortalized.
Yes.
And it's very special when somebody was able to capture your essence in real time or like at the peak of something. This is why it's very important that we take pictures of things and we document things, that we have things, even like this podcast, where it's documentation that you were there, you made your mark, you lived, and you let them know. Really also important and imperative to look at those sources of media that are probably overlooked. All of those pageants that are on YouTube, all of those documentaries like what was it? Wigstock,
Wigstock.
and
Yeah.
Fantasia.
Yes.
Why'd
All
you
on
look at me
VHS.
like that?
Yes.
You're the one that's always watching. Girl, she comes to my house and we're up to like 3 or 4 in the morning and she's just going through YouTube pageants. I was like, girl, we've already seen this 20 times. I'm gonna watch it 20 more.
It gives you the fuel for your craft.
Yeah. And I tell her all the time, like when I go home, like people like they say in an interview all the time, I watch these YouTube videos, I watch this, I've done my homework. Girl, I literally go home and I know you said Continental's that girl, but US of A has always been that girl for me. So girl, I watch Miss Gay Texas US of A, Miss Gay US of A, like I watch those videos. Girl, how many times have we watched Jade's talent video?
In the last day or in the last week? I mean, she's only won like what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Girl.
So in the last 2 weeks that she's won, I've seen that video at least, and she watches it on repeat. Like we'll watch it, she's like, I'm gonna watch it again.
Well, girl, it's just I just see a move different, and I'm like, oh, I gotta see it again. Jade, I love you, Jade. That's my sis.
I feel the same way though, like when I rewatch Drag Race Lip Sync for Your Lives. No matter how many times I've seen Dita Ritz and the Princess go at it to Natalie Coles.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. It don't matter how many times I've seen Brooklyn Heights and Evie Oddly go at it to Sorry Not Sorry. It don't matter how many times I've seen Delta and Manila do MacArthur Park. Those for me are like where I took the most inspiration.
Oh,
when
you're
I
forgetting
was
the most important one. Alyssa and Tatiana doing Shut Up and Drive.
Once again, a special thank you to our sponsor of this episode of Spilled Milk, Gold Dust Cosmetic Collective here in Corpus Christi, and here is how you can get a hold of them today. The local's premier cosmetic studio offering medical injections, neurotoxins, fillers, laser tattoo removal, skincare, cosmetic tattooing, as well as so much more. Gold Dust Cosmetic Collective is open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Appointment only. They are located in Midtown Corpus Christi. You can contact Gold Dust at 361-549-9205. So I want to know, everybody go around the room. I want to know what is like there's a trend going on TikTok right now that's like my 90 and a 30, which basically means like you're so amped up that like the driving lane is only 30 miles an hour, but you're going 90. So it's like, what is your the fuck off?
You scared
anthem
me.
for
I
drag?
heard numbers. I thought math. Y'all know I got a CCIC education. I don't know shit. very
Anybody
well.
who's been to a show of yours knows you have a CCIST
I
education.
spend more time in the locker room than
Well,
in the
my
classroom.
question that I want to know is who signed off on that diploma?
You know what? There was one time that I did a show and Nancy Vetta was in the audience and she used to be one of my vice principals and she came up afterwards to me and she was like, I feel kind of offended that you said that joke because I was one of the educators that helped you along in your career. But I love it. I love making that joke and then it's so funny because like people see me as this ditzy little like da 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 da. Like y'all don't realize, like, I got a bachelor's degree and I got a license from the state to, like, do something.
And they allowed that?
They gave me a driver's license. They gave me a license to counsel. They gave me a degree. They said, you are certified, sanctified, religious.
Wait, but go over your question again. What is it? 30, 90? What is
39.
it?
So
90
basically,
and a 30.
basically,
90.
what is your 90 and a 30? So what is the one anthem that you perform to that you just like? It's always gonna hit like every single time.
I don't know. Just every time I perform "Don't Let Go" by In Vogue, like just those
weird.
instruments and everything, it just And this is kind of morbid, I know, but I told my mom that when I pass away, if I pass away before my mom, like I want like the instrumental of "Don't Let Go" instead of just like any other music. I just want to hear that one last time.
They're gonna bring Gemini and she's like, "What's it gonna?"
I'm gonna set up just
That was that the song that wasn't Set It Off or no?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It sure was.
I think it's so funny how I'm not throwing shade, but I'm just saying what I'm saying. I think it's so funny that they picked the two whitest people on RuPaul's Drag Race to do that song. It was literally Lady Camden and Bosco. But it was singing.
Those producers ate
Girl,
with those
the
visuals.
camera, it was like boom, boom, boom. It was so good.
I was throwing stuff at the TV. I said, yes, yeah. Oh,
That's her Super Bowl.
I really want to see, and I've said this to Kitana before. Whenever we hear songs and I hear like certain songs sound like other songs, I really need to hear somebody do a really good like mashup mix of that song with "Can't Let Go" from Mariah Carey.
Well, girl,
'Cause
be
it
the
has
change
this-
you want to see
I
in the world. Do
know.
it yourself.
Girl, I'm gonna have to call up Weasel and be like, "Can you make this for us, please?"
You know you could do it.
I know.
That's what annoys me sometimes about you and your ADHD is that in a second
Oh.
you could do so many things. If I could just
my
get you
first
to
Get me the fuck up out of here on my own goddamn show. He's reading.
But girl, you know it's a thing with me because she gets mad at me, and I know you got mad at me before. It's like bitch, like there are so many things you could do for yourself, and we could just get you to sit down, shut up, and
I
focus
know.
on doing the task.
girl, your favorite song to perform, Mary?
I would say like my favorite song, and I have it right now. It's like it's a mashup where it's like the two back to back.
Oh, did you make it?
No, Gemini made it for me.
Oh.
Yes, they just
She does it all.
she does it all. It is hopelessly devoted into There Are Worse Things I Can Do.
And she
I
has
thought
the
you were
nerve to
gonna-
do that at the start of a show.
I know.
Mhm.
Girl, I thought you were gonna
Uh,
say something like Whitney Houston.
No. Like that's why I asked the qualifier. Is like, are you saying like a moneymaker song? Because at this point, I've done Whitney Houston so many like times because when I first started out, like I kind of got like boxed into doing the Whitney Houston illusion. So now it's like when I do it, it's like I like to bring it out, but I only bring it out every now and then now because I got so tired of doing Dance with Somebody so many times. Doing like I Have Nothing, doing I Will Always Love You. I mean, not to say those aren't songs that I love and I really enjoy and I love seeing other people do, but like for me to do it, like I just think like
It's the way that I was the one who did the national anthem before her. Just saying.
Yeah. No.
You did, didn't you?
I did, and I made bank off of 1 minute and 19 seconds.
Oh, Kitana, what's your 90 and a 30?
Oh my gosh. That one.
I know my song that I love to see Kitana pop, lock, and drop it to. It's Work
Hush,
Me
Hush.
Down.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Work
it's
Me
either
Down.
Work Me Down or
Yeah.
Hush Hush.
Hush,
I know everybody loves Hush Hush when I do Hush Hush.
Even my husband, he hates that song because of like the Texas formula, but he's like, with Katana does it every time. I just sit there and watch. I love it.
I feel like that's a
Um,
testament to like Mariah Balenciaga Paris. When it's right, it's right. It's 100% true.
Actually, I mean, as much as I enjoy doing those songs, because I feel like those are moneymakers,
Yeah.
you know, people can relate to it. I've really taken a liking to doing theatrical music. So something off of, you know,
Bring on the Men. Will
Bring
always
on the
be my
Men.
favorite song of
Exactly.
yours.
Bring on the Men.
Yeah,
And
I
I
love
feel
that.
it just like embodies, I can relate to it. So when I'm like out there, I'm like, no, I am embodying this character and I'm speaking my truth.
And you can actually sing live.
So.
You've done Roxy live before.
Yeah, I tried it because we were at a karaoke bar that night,
I remember
you know, and
that.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it and see what it's like. And, you know,
I would say for me, like my favorite numbers to watch you do is when you incorporate like your belly dancing. Like I love.
Well, and see,
watching
I
them.
love doing that. That's like my passion.
Yeah.
But you know me, I'm gonna bring out the props. I'm a prop queen.
Yeah.
You know, I can admit it that I love bringing out props, the fans, the veils, the sticks, what have you,
It's theater.
tambourines.
Yeah.
You know,
Theater.
and get people's attention because I think sometimes you know the audience will just be like there for a minute and it's like, hey, you gotta wake up. You know, wake them up a little bit.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Uh-huh.
Am I giving, daughter? Am I giving? Time to wake him up.
What's your 90 and a 30?
My 90 and a 30 will always be Billy Porter's rendition of Beauty School Dropout from Greece.
Oh, that's right.
That will
Yes.
forever and always be like my magic moment. But the thing is that it has like an encore built into it because it does come back down
Yeah.
and then it goes back up to, and it's very gospel, it's very church, it's very drag, it's camp, it's theater, it's got like a little bit of everything, and it also has spoken word built into it. So it's literally like just like Bring on the Men. It's one of the best kinds of like performance that you could do. It's one of my favorite numbers too. I know that bitch inside and out.
I love watching you perform that one too.
The more glamorous you look on stage, the stupider you act, the funnier it is.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a version that had the Barbara Streisand Peanuts monologue in it?
Miss Georgia.
That was actually another
Was it
that was another mix, and that one was inspired by
Wait,
the
peanuts or nuts?
I don't know. I call
You
it
said peanuts. I was like, wait a minute, no, because I don't want Babs hearing this somewhere, and she's like, I never did peanuts.
What's that, bitch? For Bupkins peanut.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I love Babs, but she's a recluse. She'll be fine.
No,
She's in her villa somewhere with her millions of dollars.
that particular mix was inspired and taken by the late Miss Jacqueline Michaels.
Ah, yes. Mhm.
She did that at one of the pageants. I think it was either Miss Sweetheart, Miss Firecracker. It was something.
Rest in power.
Yes,
Rest in
but
power.
I that was actually one of the first times that I ever saw a performance that like really, really gagged me. And that brings me to my next question. What was the first performance that you ever saw that literally sent like chills up your butt crack? That was probably for me, that was my oh shit moment.
Oh, I
because
know.
it takes I'm changing from, it has that monologue in the beginning where she's talking about being a sex worker, and then it goes into I'm changing from Dreamgirls, Jennifer Hudson's version, and then when it gets to the climax of the this time I am, it immediately on beat, on tempo, cuts straight into and I'm telling you I'm not going from Dreamgirls, also by Jennifer Hudson, originally by Miss Jennifer Holliday. I was shook. I was gagged. I didn't know what the hell to do. I was with you that night, I remember. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? And you're like, baby, that's how it's done. That's drag. That's high drag. Yes.
I just feel like when you perform, if you look expensive, I love it. I love the foxtails and everything. But the one person that like I can actually say that's like mesmerized was Naomi Evans. Like whenever, like before I started doing drag, like excuse me. Anytime I watched her perform, and I've told her this multiple times, girl, I was just in a trance, just
You were in a trance.
Or she is trans.
That's what I heard.
Is this the
Huh?
confession? After all
Trans.
these years, she's
Assumption.
trans.
assumption.
Are you trans?
Eres o te parece?
Soy,
I thought she was coconut.
soy milk.
Soy milk.
There's a lot of estrogen.
Oh no. Oh no.
There's some nuts in that milk.
Who was the first person that you saw that it sent a
Um,
chill up that butt crack of yours?
I would say the first person that I felt like I was truly mesmerized, like a legend icon, would probably be like Tommy Ross. Like watching Tommy Ross perform and just watching like the response of the audience, and I mean, and this is before like I even knew like who she really was. Like I went and I was like was one of the first couple years when I went to compete for Miss Texas, and she was one of the guest entertainers. So watching her perform and just seeing like the outpour of like love and adoration from the audience to her, I think that was the first time I saw a performance, and I saw a performer that I was just like, wow, breathtaking.
Speaking of Tommy Ross, I think I was at home in my bed and she was performing at a pageant and she did a Heather Headley song.
Ooh.
And girl, she was literally there just performing, doing something that she's been doing for so long. Girl, I was literally in my bed just crying. Just, I love Tommy Ross.
We love you, Miss T. Ross. We really do.
like I love Erica, right? Erica Andrews. That's she's a was a great entertainer, one of the great.
Did you ever get to see her perform?
I got to see her perform at Continental when I went, and I got to see her here in Corpus Christi. Actually got to speak with her one time when she was here, just real quick, like, and she was very down to earth, very hey Mija, how are you?
One of the girls.
Just real,
Yeah.
real chill, But who I like admire really, and I'm like every time I see her, and she's no longer here, was her mother, Miss Tandy Andrews.
Was on Jerry Springer.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was on Maury, and she was on Sally.
And she's the one that she has that sickening video of like they're taking the crown away from her.
Yes,
and she takes it
that's
off and
that's
she
the
throws it at
performance.
them.
That is exactly the performance I love, because
watching that.
to me that is the ultimate like form of like, okay, you don't want me, like I get it, that's fine, but I'm so flawless. You can have this crown. I don't need a crown.
Wasn't it even to a Whitney Houston song?
Yes.
Yeah. No, what is that one? No matter what they take from me.
Yeah. Greatest love of all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, her, for me, like, her performances were awesome. And also, too, she was a trailblazer for trans women within the drag scene.
Yeah.
So I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's my idol.
What do you feel like as a drag entertainer? What are like some of the key rituals that you have, like getting ready before a show? Like, is there something that helps you either like A, get into character, B, it helps you like kind of like become Gemini, become Isis, become Kitana Sanchez, become Frankie Sang, whatever the fuck. Mine used to be to go outside and have a cigarette. That's how we would take it off. And then it was like a here comes mama. And that was like it was a part of the ritual. Like and it was after I would shave my facial hair, I would go smoke, and then I would go inside and I would start painting.
You heard it here, folks. She's a bruja. She's doing rituals.
Girl,
I looked at you.
What?
And I gagged for a second because you know what I just thought of? You know what one of my rituals is when I perform?
Annoying the fuck out of me.
Besides that, right before I hit on stage, and me and my drag dad do this too. We both get Oscar like right before I hit the sub.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, girl.
And I've never
Makes
thrown
me
up besides in San
sick. I
Antonio.
I've never been around it. So I don't
Annoying
know.
the hell out of me. I'm right there like trying to announce her, and she's I'm like, motherfucker, stop it.
Girl, I'm like,
That's why sometimes, like, when I'm over there and I'm saying all this shit, it's so she can get over the fucking obstacle because she's over there, like, coughing up a fucking lung. And I'm over here saying, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she's glamorous. And she's over there sounding like a fucking dying pig.
and I've never thrown up. I've only thrown up in San Antonio on my first time for talent night. I was like, it's just Oscar. Just, and I was like, where's the trash can?
I will never forget. Okay, now we'll get into like the stories too. We'll quickly. Do you have any rituals? And then we're gonna start talking about drag horror stories.
No, well, not really. A shot of Fireball.
A shot of fireball.
At home?
Yeah, if I have it at home. But no, for me, like, she makes fun of me all the time because she's like, you listen to some stupid ass music, but I have like a playlist of like 90s alternative.
It keeps you on time.
Yeah, so it's like an hour and a half, and I started when I start my makeup, and then I already have my songs in it that I know, like, okay, if I'm at this point right now, then I can take my smoke break. So go take a smoke break, calm down for a little bit, come back. So it's the way I time, and it's all my favorite music because it's Evanescence, Linkin Park, Green Day, Nirvana, like, so just that's my get ready space.
I do make fun of you a lot more.
I don't really have one either. I kind of just listen to like random playlists. I'll listen to like the song I'm going to perform that night while getting ready. I'll hit the Benjamin from time to time.
But you feel like you're so well like stepped into what you do that it's just like if you were getting dressed to go to work.
Yeah, exactly. I see it as it's a career move, and it's like, okay, this is, and then it's it's time to get to work.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like that is achieved when you're very connected with your craft.
Yeah. But for yours, I've never see you just sit down and doing nothing. I feel like your ritual for Kitana is you're always doing something.
I keep myself busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I try to, getting on the outfits. I think also too, what I love as part of a ritual is helping the other entertainers in the dressing room.
True.
So having, y'all there, having my sisters there and be like, sis, can you help me with this? Can you,
Yes.
I enjoy doing that. Or I also too enjoy with like the new queens and they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, okay, you need a safety pin. Hold on real quick.
I got you,
You
girl.
got a bobby pin. Hey, you know what? That doesn't
Want
look
the
good.
tease?
Let's take this off. Let's, do this. Okay, now you look right.
Or even like, what are you doing in the show tonight? Let's change your number real quick.
Yeah.
Let you.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about throwing up and having a school and vomiting. So there was one time I had Vic's fried chicken before
What?
I got to. Girl, I don't know.
Already, that's a
I had Vic's fried chicken right before getting to the show, and it was at Texas Jams in Kingsville. You know this night, girl, because you held my hair back.
Yes, I do.
So I was lent an outfit from Brit that was originally Ms. Boom Boom's outfit.
Shauna Boom Boom Roberts. Shout out to Shauna Boom Boom Roberts from Houston, Texas.
Shout out to the Boom. It was this really, really tight, gorgeous bedazzled bra that was clearly for somebody that was bodied, not to be worn on top of a fucking leotard. But whatever, we're not gonna go there. So it was Frankie Stein, not Frankie. Huge
Choices.
difference. Yeah, eating the chicken was the worst choice of all. And we got to the gig in Kingsville, and it was probably in the middle of Pride. So it was probably at least maybe like 89 to 90 degrees in that environment.
In that little venue.
And the drag heat index is not the same as the forecast heat index. If you're somewhere and it feels 75 degrees, it feels easily 85 degrees in drag. So if you're already going somewhere that's like 89 degrees, it feels like you're like at 100 in drag.
And that's
Girl,
just before performing.
And when you get off stage, like it's curtains, it's over. Like you literally feel like an overheated cell phone. You need to get thrown in the freezer.
Yeah.
So I remember I was supposed to do This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. And this was my, of all the diva moments that I've had, because I've had plenty. I don't apologize for any of them. I'm getting in this outfit, and I remember I'm like stiff as a freaking board, and I'm like, I can feel the food start to come up. I just had such horrible
I
asshole.
was gonna say the acid reflux
Yes,
started hitting.
that was when, and that was pre-COVID, so that was like before I had GERD. But it did not sit with me, and I very rarely to never have ever had food poisoning, much less like that. But I just remember I went and fucking. I felt it come up. I
remember you were like, "Can you
I was
uncorset
all-
me?"
I
You're
said-
like, "Take off my."
I said, take out the bra real fast, unloosen the corset. I said, and go with me. And then I went to like the side outside, and this was literally like a minute and a half before I was supposed to get on stage.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember I was like,
oh yeah. I wasn't even worried.
I said, Kitana, hold my hair. And I went outside, and as soon as I stepped outside, somebody was outside smoking, and the cigarette smoke hit me, and I was like, hold my hair. And she just held my big ass orange Myrtle Snow hair that I was wearing at the time. And I was like, and just vomited all over the pavement.
Yeah.
Girl, it was so bad. And then, like a true professional, put on my costume, rinsed my mouth out with a water bottle. I said, let me go make this money.
Sure did.
Yes.
Today's episode of Spilled Milk is sponsored by Gold Dust Collective, located right here in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Gold Dust Cosmetic Collective is open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Appointment only. They are located in Midtown Corpus Christi. Their address is 109 Airline Road on Airline in between McCardle and Galahar Road. Complimentary consultations are provided and all calls are welcomed. You can contact Gold Dust at 361-549-9205. Let's hear yours.
Okay, so since we're talking about bodily fluids coming out from our oral areas, or orifices.
Jiggly on somebody.
So it was actually my birthday at the Hidden Door, and for y'all know this, but for everybody else that hasn't been to the Hidden Door, they have a heavy hand, and we all know this. So they like to pour a little bit extra in there, and get you good. Well,
They like to make sure you're hydrated.
yes,
Yeah.
So of course, when it's your birthday and they hear it's your birthday, they're gonna start treating you to, here, have this,
Be
drink
flawless.
this drink, and people were like, here. So I did the mistake of mixing alcohol that night. And being that I was like, no, I'm flawless, I can handle it, right? Whatever. I'm like, okay. And I still had to perform that night, mind you. I still had to do a show. So I do my first number, everything's fine, I'm feeling good. And also too, that night, my cousin was visiting, and her and a friend, so they were, enjoying the show. And I just remember halfway through, somebody gave me a shot of Rumplemint's. Peppermint Rumplemint.
Girl.
And girl, after that, I just remember taking it, and I'm like, I just remember bits and pieces. Like, I started just like blacking out here and there. I was still like, okay. But I remember I got called on stage for the birthday shot. And I remember there's a video out there somewhere of me like tippy tumbling in my high heels. And I'm like, okay, like, whatever. But I took that shot. And then I just remember sitting back down, and I remember watching the show. and I see Mercedes
Oh my
on
gosh.
stage.
Shout out to Mercedes.
Shout out to Mercedes.
Friend of the pod.
Because Mercedes even said she looked at me and she's like, "What's going on?" I just remember turning my head to the left and grabbing my hand and being like, and my cousin was like, "Oh shit!" Like we ran to the bathroom. I'm in this dress, right? Somehow, it was a green dress. Somehow I ripped it off like here because I was like, I can't breathe. And I just everything. My cousin was there holding my hair, and I remember just looking at her. I was on the floor and the toilet, and I remember looking up at her from the stall, and I go, "Fuck you." And then at some point, I remember Brittany coming in because she was emceeing, and she's like, "Hey," she goes, your number's next." But I remember too, she's like, "Okay, fine, whatever," like, you know. But I remember they had to drag me out through the back of the hidden door because they were like, "We're not gonna have you go in front of everybody," but
Okay, they don't want you to go down the ramp.
they're like, "No, let's go through the back and take you out, and we'll have." But yeah, that was my Oscar story.
Hey, but speaking of crazy birthdays, do you remember that one queen who decided to hit a fucking joint before she got on stage?
Oh, this doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
Oh yes, that's right. Oh my god.
You know what I was thinking? It was my
She was
30th.
geeked, bitch. She was
Was it
frozen
you?
out.
It was my 30th birthday. I hadn't smoked in 10 years.
That's right. You asked me for it, right?
And I was in between jobs, so I wasn't getting drug tested
Right.
at the time. So I said, you know what? It's my 30th birthday. This is my first time ever doing a birthday show, and I'm at I'm finally after like 9-10 years, like I'm at a point where it's like I could actually probably partake of extra
Curricular activities.
Herbal, or what is it?
Herbal
Herbal
essence.
refreshments.
I could finally use the herbal essence on my hair to get a nice shiny glow.
She
Herbal
said, "Oh,
refreshment.
I looked at my watch and it was 4:20."
I said it's about damn time. And then I remembered why. There was a 10-year gap between partaking.
And then she had the nerve to call me the next day, and she was like, "Girl, why did you let me do that?"
It's like it's always someone else's problem.
Now, with that being said, do you feel like that is your like moment, like your horror story, your drag horror story? Do you have a better one?
No, I mean, because like I've been very fortunate as much as I drink that I've never had a public kind of like I'm sick moment. Of course, I've had moments where it's like I think even recently, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's just because of like the corseting that I wear. Like when you're drinking and everything and like everything's sitting and then you take stuff off because as soon as the show's over, I take off the corseting so that I can be able to breathe. But then it's like in that moment that you take everything off and then everything just flushes down the rest of you. And then sometimes some of that stuff comes back up.
Yeah.
So there's been a time or two where I just say, do you know what? I'm going to go and get the pay real quick. I literally know this one queen that I saw go and get like a seafood boil, down the seafood boil, and then still go and get snacks and down the snacks, and then be given a plate of like a full meal of dinner, down that, and then get ready and do drag and then go out there and perform.
Bitch, that
It's
sounds like
it's that performer in the
room with
in
us?
the room.
Do you know what? It's a very special man that's close and dear to my heart.
Is it you? Did you do all that? I want everybody to know the affinity that you have for Wiener Schnitzel.
I love Wiener Schnitzel. Like, and they close at 3 and the bar closes at 2. So I'd be like, okay, let's pack real quick. I'm going to Wiener Schnitzel.
She said, "I'm having afters at Wiener Schnitzel." Anybody want to
And then my bodily story is that my 21st birthday, I was doing the music, running the light for the girls, and it was a Saturday because it was Andrea Whitney's show. So I was doing it. She was like, "Well, you're not gonna work tonight. We're gonna get you drinks. We're gonna get you shots." Girl, I swear I did like 8 shots, 3 drinks. And anyone who knows
Gemini.
me now, I don't drink. Like, it's not for any reason. I just don't like the way alcohol tastes, and I love a good old soda.
Same.
Well, girl, my friend Kenny was driving me home to his house that night because we were all sleeping over at his house. And he was like, "Bitch, if you throw up in my car, I'm going to fuck you up. So you better go outside and you better throw up." So I went outside. We were at Sanctuary. I was by the Sanctuary sign. And I was like, I don't know why he told me to come outside. I don't have to. I just started throwing up everywhere. And I was literally, it just wouldn't stop coming.
Oh, no.
And people were literally driving into the parking lot. And they were like, "Is there a drag show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a drag show inside." They're
She said, "I'm doing the exorcist tonight."
girl, literally. And I was like, just go. And then I looked, bitch, just me throwing up everything. I was like, okay, I feel like I'm good. Is Winnie still open?
Buzga. Also, too, shout out to the
Yeah.
Hidden Door.
Longest running gay bar in Corpus Christi.
Celebrating 45 years this year.
Not sponsored, but we will
Yeah.
always have their
Partially sponsored.
yeah.
Partially sponsored.
We have an
by bar.
employee here. So, your drag mother is Mandy Moore Paris.
Yeah.
Who was Mandy for people who may have either never been into the bar scene or didn't have the opportunity to get to know her, or even people who are watching at home right now that have no idea who like most of the people are that we're talking about, but they're living and they're laughing and they're like absorbing the energy and receiving it. Who was she to you and who was she to everybody else?
Well, Mandy to me was my drag mother, is my drag mother, you know, even though she's no longer here with us, no, she's still my drag mother. She was the first person that, she didn't put me in drag, because famously, I remember some of the first times I would get ready with her, she would always tell me, she's like, my drag mother never put me in makeup or nothing like that. She said, figure it out. So I'm going to do the same with you, figure it out. But I've seen her paint and, you know, it was kind of questionable sometimes. A lot of the things. Mandy was very much, she was very polarizing. You know, either you met her and you were enthralled in just her orbit of her charisma, or, you know, people just didn't want to get involved with it and, you know, they appreciated it from a distance. So she was a very polarizing individual, but she was also a huge advocate for new entertainers, because that was just the way that she was. She was very giving of herself, and she was very, you know, accepting of people. You know, anyone that came up to her and said like, I want help. No, she was very like that, to say, okay, I will help you. Yeah, when she passed, it was hard for me, and it still does continue to be hard for me. You know, I have my days where like I stop and I think and I look at the life that I have now and the career I built for myself now, and I wish that she was there, you know, beside me. You know, I always knew that she was there, you know, rooting for me.
And I think she did that for everybody too.
Yeah.
Because I remember like she was there at the Hidden Door and I'd say hi, this and that. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, your earrings are so pretty. Or, oh, you know, you're made shit. And backstage getting ready, I'd be like, oh, that's a cute palette. And one day she gave me the palette. Like she was literally like, oh, you like it? Here, you can have it.
She was very much
I think,
like that.
you know, I'm very glad to have, you know, a makeup, you know, palette from your mother. It's, you know, and she was a great individual within the community.
One of my first costumes that I actually wore for talent night was a Mandy Moore Paris costume, and I gave it back to Layla because it wasn't my costume, and Layla kept one Mandy costume for herself, and she gave me one Mandy costume, and she said, you can sell anything you want in your drag closet, but this was Mandy Moore Paris's costume. Take care of this costume. Don't sell this to anyone, just cherish this costume. So that costume always sits in my closet. I don't like to wear it all the time because I don't want to mess it up, but no one knows. One of my first costumes was her costume. I still have it till today.
How do you think that your drag mother would have been if she could see you on the front page of the Caller Times?
Probably laughing at me. And she was the one that gave me the best advice that I still hold to this day. If you walk into a bar and people aren't offering you a drink, you're not doing drag right. Fix it. She pushed me to be an amazing individual. She said, go live your life, take care of your responsibilities, focus on your education, your career, do what you need to do to take care of yourself, and we'll be here to celebrate you whenever you're ready.
I think we've all had like our accomplishments in the drag scene here in Corpus Christi. You know, we've all won titles at some point. You know what I mean? We're, like I said, we're leaving legacies. And I just think, for me, honestly, it's getting to work with all of y'all, whether it be a show, whether it be like this podcast, whether it be doing makeup.
Yeah.
You know, those for me are times when I feel like, you know what, I'm making memories.
Key moments.
You know, because like I said, like growing up, I didn't have this type of interaction with people. I didn't have these types of friends. So I'm cherishing these moments now. This is what I wanted. Like when I'm 80, 90, you know, if I'm still shaking them down on the stage, you know, I would, you know, I'm going to remember, hey, back when I was 30 something, back when I was 20 something, I met these individuals and we created something here in Corpus. We continue the legacy too of those that came before us.
If I didn't come up in the time where I got to meet y'all, because like I said, at the time that I stepped away from hanging around Mandy, and I decided that I needed to step back on from drinking, I got very fortunate that I met Frank, and I met you, Gemini, and met Paris, and we were all sober girlies together. We didn't drink, we didn't after, we didn't go out and live at the bar. A lot of our interactions together was hanging out at Paris's apartment, hanging out together, and going to out to eat, or going to do stuff together. So I really got to meet and hang out with people outside of that. And then at the same time, I got very fortunate that I met someone that grounded me, and I can be very flighty and very impulsive, and I found someone that was very firm and hold me to what I say I'm gonna do, and really help take the idea of what I wanted and make it reality. So I got very fortunate that at the time in my life where there was a lot of transition, I met a lot of really stable people, and then eventually, getting to include it, because once, Mandy was gone, Brittany started to help mentor me, and that's how I got to meet you and got to know you more and be able to have you as part of my drag family. So, there was a lot of change and a lot of flux, and a lot of uncertainty, and I just got so lucky, and it was just one of those magical blessings.
And just imagine 20, 30 years from now, they're going to have virtual podcasts. They're going to be, did you remember that Kitana Sanchez, that Gemini Bjork, that Isis Paris?
That thing Isis Paris.
Oh my God.
That Frankie Stein.
Oh my God. Thank y'all so much for being here today. Honestly, I'm so happy that I got to share this with y'all, that y'all got to be a part of this, that this is something that you get to have with you forever. It's another thing that is an us thing that we got to do. I'm so proud to be able to have the surface area that I do, to be able to grab my sisters and be hey, you're coming on here with me. So let people know where they can find you, what you got going on this Pride.
So my name is Kitana Sanchez, she, her, aya pronouns. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Look me up. I'm also your current reading, Miss Trans, Texas, USA.
I didn't know you had that.
I will be competing in November in Washington, D.C. So look out for my fundraisers coming up, and any events where I'm at. Please support. Thank you very much.
My name is Isis Paris York. You can catch me on all of my social medias on Isis Paris York at Azul Entertainment. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. But you can find me on all of my social medias. You can follow Azul Entertainment and see where I'm doing shows. Normally, I'll be at the Hidden Door every other Saturday. You could also see us when we do shows at the House of Rock, in Kingsville, in Bishop, and anywhere that anyone is willing to book us. So, follow me on my social media so that you can see a show near you.
My name is Gemini Bjork. I'm the current Miss Gay Corpus Christi US of A, first runner-up to Miss Gay South Coast US of A, and I'll be competing this August for the prestigious title of Miss Gay Texas US of A. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, I'm on it.
Thank y'all so much for tuning into this episode of Spilled Milk. You can catch us on Instagram at Spilled Milk CC. You can also find us on TikTok at Spilled Milk CC. Natalie will be back for the next episode, but we also do have a special little segment that I think all of you are going to enjoy. Once again, a huge shout out to our major sponsor for this episode, Gold Dust Cosmetic Collective, located here in Corpus Christi. You can also find them on Instagram, Facebook as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode of Spilled Milk. Bye.
What's it going on?